The Digivolution is up and running. Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? A Digi Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of Lost in Translation Mon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
This week we watched Revival, the Demon Lord Venom Vandemon.
Oh, also known as The Prophecy, or just Prophecy.
And two great ultimate evolutions. Get rid of the darkness.
Or The Battle for Earth.
Alternatively, I think that episode should have been called Crotch Vampires, Still a Better Love Story Than Twilight. It is a crotch pie, though.
You're right.
All right, so on to Obnoxious Synopsis, which we recorded on, Tuesday, I think. All right, so the first episode that we're going to be watching this week is called Prophecy, and as I said in episode 19, I'm not going to be saying the Japanese titles for either of these episodes, as I think they give a bit too much away, and, I'm also it's better to not say both than not say one and say the other, so I'm just saying the English English names for these episodes. So what did you think what do you think Prophecy will be about?
Okay, well, Prophecy, I'm only working with half as much information as I usually go with. So, I imagine this is when we finally find out, I think, and also you kind of told me, about not Devimon, although hopefully him too, about Myotismon's, actual plan and why he acted like a huge idiot. And, because he was probably, by the way, I take it from what you said, he was probably focused on other things that he was probably, I don't know, he probably had a different aim than what would be obvious. Devimon's aim was just kill TK because for whatever reason he knew that TK would murder him. Now, I still think he should have killed everyone else to do that, but you understand why he was focused on that. Myotismon wasn't clear. Myotismon was like, I want the 8th child, but I'm also going to steal Odaiba and become the king of the digital world somehow. So this one I'm hoping, maybe Genai will tell them all what the prophecy is that made the bad guys do what they did, rather than mwahaha, I'm evil, like Edamon was.
Right. So what do you think's happening to the real world, or do you think that nothing's happening to the real world? It's just leftover fog.
My theory is that they're moving this section of the real world into the digital world, which I don't think makes a lot of sense, but at least would give the kids a good, thing to do. It would give them a really good, goal, which I appreciate.
Also, I'm actually taking notes for this obnoxious synopsis. So
Because I always forget. I always forget what I say.
Yeah, and I forget too, so I'm actually taking notes about what Jay says will happen, or what he thinks will happen, and then we'll actually know what to talk about rather than just, so do you think it was better? I don't remember what I said. So now we know. But yeah, if you hear typing, that's just me doing it. I'll try and type as soft as I possibly can.
That's fine.
All right. So, but what do you think will be the main plot of this episode?
I can't guess
Or
beyond that there will be a prophecy told to them at some stage.
Do you think it's just 20 minutes of talking?
It's 20 minutes of talking and looking at the fog, going, I don't know what to do, and people not being able to leave Odaiba.
So do you think it'll be a good episode, or do you think there'll be too much dialogue, or...
I'm hoping that it will be a lot of dialogue that is interesting, but my best guess is that perhaps 30% of it will be, and the rest of it will be the kids, or random adults who are still in the train station or wherever they are going, I don't know what's happening, and then waving their arms around in the air. And then, right at the end of the episode, a new bad guy will show up.
So, do you think you'll like this episode, or do you think you'll not like this episode?
I can't guess by the name. I'm going to say that I do like it because, okay, it's entirely contingent on what this prophecy is. It entirely is possible that it invites more anger than ever, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, which the show has not earned, and say that I will like it because the prophecy will explain stuff that I've been asking about.
So do you think the prophecy will be, you'll say, oh, this is fair enough? Or do you think you'll still have arguments about the prophecy? Will you think it makes no sense?
I have no idea. It's just called the prophecy, but this is Digimon, so the likelihood is it doesn't make any sense.
Do you have anything else to say about prophecy?
Nothing. I've worked on the two-word title as much as I possibly can.
All right. So the next episode, episode 39, is called The Battle for Earth, in English, obviously. What do you think about this?
Oh, I think that confirms. Oh, okay. That does two things. It means that the previous one, maybe instead of Odaiba going into the digital world, it like opens up a portal into the real world for all the Digimon to come out, like a permanent one, a la like Legend of Korra with the spirits. Spoiler, everybody, if you cared, for like the end of season two. So that's a possibility, but because it's not the battle for Odaiba, right? It's a battle for Earth, so it makes it sound like Digimon are coming through to take over. I feel like the show's direction and the fog and everything was really going towards like protecting this place and shunting it back into the real world, but that no longer seems to be the case. It's really tough because that's quite a confusing title, honestly. So the title leads me to believe that Digimon are going to be flooding into onto the planet, which they already kind of were, but through a more permanent portal, and you have to beat away the bad guys. But if they're introducing new bad guys, they're not going to just die instantly. Oh,
So,
it's tough.
so you said that the new big bad will show up. What do you think he'll look like, or do you have no idea?
No,
Like,
okay, here's the thing. Let us describe the bad guys that we've had so far. All right? The very first person you had was Black Goth Devil, El
yeah.
Diablo. That's kind of sensical. And we'll skip to the third one, and he's a vampire. It's a bit weird, like European Gothic kind of thing
Mm.
going on, but it's still an evil thing. Your second bad guy, however, was Elvis in an orangutan suit. I couldn't have guessed that. No one could have guessed that. The writer probably didn't guess it. He probably, I bet someone looked at what there was a creative team and they were given all the sprites from the Digimon toys, whatever,
Hmm.
and they looked at them and they said, "Oh, this is a dinosaur. I'll make a dinosaur. This is a dragon. I'll make a dragon." And there was one guy who like dropped the sketch or whatever, or dropped the pixel image, and he's like 5-year-old son picked it up, and he's like, "Daddy, it's Elvis." And the guy just shrugged because it was the last one he had to do, and he
Well,
was
that's
like,
only in the dub.
and he was like,
He's
"All
only
right."
Elvis in the dub,
No, but
right?
he's still a singer who's clearly just a guy, but in like a monkey suit.
Mm.
But he also has like a teddy bear toy, and the microphone may or may not be part of his body. It's just completely ridiculous. I could never have guessed.
So, do you think the next bad guy, the next big bad that you say will be in these episodes, do you think he'll be a comedic bad guy or a serious bad guy?
Um, Look, I don't even think Edamon was really meant to be that comedic. He is, but he
Oh,
wasn't.
I mean, Edamon's definitely like he's.
He's
I think he's
comparatively
very
in
comedic.
English for sure, but in Japanese it wasn't quite so much. But then in Japanese everything's fairly toned down comparatively.
Mm.
Um, we're just coming off Mon, who was by and large very serious, to the extent where he was at least effective in probably murdering several women.
Hmm. And yes, and wants to eat children.
That's true. He does want to do that. However, I mean, who hasn't had that urge once in a while? Um, but we also came off what I'm going to call the most. We came off really two comedy bad guys, Edamon, and then about 5 episodes of The Devil Ball.
Yeah, Devil Ball I think was meant to be comedic.
Yeah, I'm going to say this one's serious. Really, we're building towards the end of season one,
Hmm.
and if they were going to put it in a comedy bad guy now, a big bad guy, they would be very short-lived because whoever the last bad guy is has to be around for a while. At
So,
least that would make sense.
so you think the final big bad will last a long time?
I do. Okay, no, that's okay. I want to rephrase that. The second last one will last a long time. The absolute final last one will last 2 episodes. because it'll be this big reveal. This was the evil the whole time. And then they'll just kill it.
Okay, so you think the second to last bad guy will be long time?
Yes, I do.
Do you think we're meeting this in these episodes? Do you think we'll meet the second to last bad guy?
I hope so. I don't. Yeah, you know what? Let's say yes. Let's say I think that in these 2 episodes we will be told about them.
And do you think this bad guy will be anything like we've seen before, or do you think it'll be a bit different?
I reiterate that one of the bad guys was a tiny flying ball version of the first bad guy, and another one was a man in a monkey suit who sang. So, if you want me to make predictions about what the bad guys will look like, it could be anything except Gundramon. I wish it was. So they're, God, I would have said a wizard, except the wizard's dead. Um, okay, all right. Pick an animal. Okay, we've got a panda crossed with, like one of those, like mannequins, like from a store. And just it's this big wooden panda, and it's like, haha, did you children?
Well, there is a Pandamon. Like, Pandamon is a Digimon that does exist. It's basically looks kind of like a Monzaemon, but it has a little red scarf around its neck.
Wait. Okay, wait.
I'll send you a picture.
Wait, you've asked me about a comedy bad guy.
Well, you said you think he'll be serious, so.
I know. Okay, I know what it should be. It should be a jester. Like a court jester with a jingly hat. And be like, haha, and be kind of funny sounding, but be fully serious when it murders everybody.
Jesus, that sounds terrifying. This is a kid's show.
Yeah. We've had the devil.
Yeah, but the devil's not spoopy.
He is when he tries to physically kill you.
I think, honestly, like, Edamon's quite scary, too.
Edamon's only scary because he was actually effective, which shows you that it doesn't matter how bad your design is, if you're an effective bad guy, then you are worthy of respect. Whereas my
husband ate people. He wants to eat people, and he gave, like, women anemia and, like, went out to get women in the night.
But yet, because he, as a bad guy, was not very effective, whenever a goal was put in front of him, he always didn't do it. And whenever he had opportunities, he didn't take them. And whenever he fights the kids, he always loses. Then he's not frightening. The armies of Digmons he's bringing into the city are frightening, but he's not frightening.
So do you think the Battle for Earth will be a good episode?
God, I hope so. I'm a bit afraid it'll be a bad version of Flower Power with lots of stuff's going on, but instead it'll all get lost.
So which episode do you think will be better?
I think if the new bad guy's introduced in the first one, then it'll be better because it will be all what I see it like as a story episode than a fighting episode, because the Battle for Earth sounds like a lot of fighting, and not the biggest fan of that all the time. However, if the big bad is only introduced in the second one, while that would be very weird, it would probably even them out. I'm gonna guess I like the first one the most.
Mm-hmm.
However, if the prophecy's bad and the bad guy's not introduced there, I'm going to hate it probably the most in the whole series.
Even worse than, oh god, what was the one you really didn't like? You didn't like the arrival of Skull Greymon, I think, from memory, because you said it made no sense.
It didn't make any sense. I'm still correct about that.
Also, I just realized something. When you watch Prophecy in Japanese, actually, I want you to watch the English one first. I'm making an executive decision. I want you to watch the English one first, because if you watch the Japanese one first,
it will spoil
you'll see the title and you'll say, well, I guess that's what it is.
Oh, I know why you're not telling me.
What?
Because it's gonna have the name and the Digimon in it, because they always introduce the new Digimon. Okay, so the bad guy's being introduced. Okay.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that there is a Digimon name in it.
All right.
So yeah, I want you to watch Battle for Earth. I don't care about. Like, you can watch that in any Japanese first or whatever. Prophecy, I want you to watch English first.
Okay.
Because gives away less in the title because it's just called prophecy, which is true. You learn about the prophecy, and we can finally have the discussion we've been wanting to have for the past like 10 episodes about why Myonismon does this.
Hopefully it's not terrible.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm clouded by nostalgia or clouded for my love of Digimon, but I think it actually makes a lot of sense, and I think that I can fight you for.
Oh, you're gonna fight me?
Yeah, I'll fight you because I'm tough.
You're gonna fight me?
Yeah, but I think that the prophecy does make sense about why it was Hikari that he was only going after. But I'll explain that when we talk about
Look,
the
literally,
prophecy.
unless the thing says the words, if you kill any of the other kids, you will instantly die, then I find it really difficult to justify.
Well, we know that he didn't want to destroy anyone who he didn't need to because he didn't want to use up any of his power. So let's just say that's that.
But
But
he would always make decisions that use the most amount of power.
like the fog.
Well,
That
like
was
the
more just
fog.
cutting off the rest of the
But
city.
like, I could kill the kids individually, which would take way less power, or I could fight them all together and try really hard and then lose.
But basically, it's kill a girl or kill everyone, and killing one single girl is much easier.
But it's not because there's so many other people in the way all the time. And I and it's not like he went to Earth and then figured it out. It's like, "Oh man, I made a mistake." No, the Devil Ball kept telling him, "This is where the kids are. This is what I'm doing to stop them." And he kept failing, and the vampire was like, "Well, you keep trying that. I'm gonna sit here." And then finally, when the Devil Ball was like, "All right, they're all together. I couldn't stop any of them. They're all a huge group. They're all powered up. They've all gotten way stronger." The vampire goes, I should go fight them now. Now seems like the most opportune time to fight them, when they're at their absolute strongest.
All right, so I guess we'll have to talk about that when we talk about prophecy. Like, I do see your point about why he couldn't just,
He's
kill them
really
while they're in the digital
stupid.
world. I think he might have underestimated them. But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to when we watch prophecy. But yeah,
Pandemon
watch
is
the English
awesome.
one first, please.
God, Pandemon is cool.
Yeah, Padamon's super cool. It's
Do you
my
want me to
mum's
watch?
favorite.
Do you want me to watch both English first or just the one?
As I said, it just this. I don't care about whatever order you watch the second episode, but this one you have to watch the English one first.
Okay, I can do that.
Yep. Yeah,
Pandemon
Pandamon's the
Frontier.
coolest.
Oh, it's not. It's not the Frontier of Pandemon.
No, it's there's a series called Digimon Frontier.
Hey, look, Saucermon.
Yeah, Saucermon's cool.
Unidentified flying Saucermon. He's just this crappy ice version of Wizardmon.
Yeah. Well, you like Ice Devimon, don't you?
Only because of his voice actor.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if we've explained this before, but Jay and I were in Sydney for a Magic the Gathering event once, and it was when Digimon Fusion was airing. So I was watching it, and there was Ice Devimon in an episode, and he was like using Christopher Walken's accent, I think, or something.
Guys,
No, I know. I don't think it was Christopher Walken. I think that was another character in Digimon Fusion. I think this one was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I
no,
think.
Schwarzenegger was the other dude, the judge.
Oh, I think with that no, that one's Gargoylemon. They look the same.
They don't.
Yeah, they do. Ice Devimon and Gargoylemon, they're both white.
I mean, you're wrong, but okay.
I like Gargoylemon. Okay, so on to Digi News. We had the third Tri PV released on Monday, which we decided not to have a special episode about it because it didn't have that much. But what we saw was, I think, Mimi and Koshiro on a date, maybe? And Jyou is talking to someone. People are guessing that it's the mysterious girl under the bridge because someone worked out that where he was standing, where we saw him standing, is nearby where she's standing. And then I've also seen another theory where Mystery Girl is the glasses girl with the bike in the fourth movie that pops up for like no reason and gives Jyou a bike. What did you think about the Tri PV? Did you notice that there's hinted Koimi? Well, I like the hinted Koimi.
I didn't notice. In fact, it's been too long since I looked at the Tri PV to even remember what it was. Except that all I remember is Mimi being like, everyone became cute now.
No, she says, you're totally nervous because of how cute I've gotten, right?
Oh, that was it.
And then
So,
Koshiro's like, no, it's not like that at all.
so my like the translation I got was just the written translation underneath the thing I was watching. And I think I said to you right afterwards, like, well, it's fairly accurate. We don't have enough information
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
what Himekawa says. So your theory might actually be right about her being a reporter or investigating the Digimon happenings.
It'd make a lot of sense.
But yeah, that's about it. There wasn't much. We saw Daigo. Well, we heard Daigo saying, "Good luck, chosen children." So I have a theory that it's his Alphamon, and he's actually testing the chosen children to see if they're strong enough to fight out these infected. That was also said in the trailer. But besides that, it's still up in the air. I'm really excited to watching Try. Still, no real mention about like how important the 02 characters will be in this season. But yeah,
Well, they haven't appeared once in any of these trailers, and we've already discussed the Japanese feeling about spoilers, which is that they don't care. So I don't feel like it's being built up to, oh, look, it's a surprise there were 02 characters around. I think they're just not going to be present at all.
but yeah, maybe they're busy with their own stuff. Like I know one character will be in year six, and another one will be like in the junior high school at some point, like second or third year. But I would like to see them in the trailer, but they weren't, and I was sad. So on to Postmon Pat. And do you want to read the email first?
Sure. So we got an email from, and they put in, it's Xochitl or Zakitl. It's they put in a pronunciation thing, and I'm completely lost. Um, and the subject title is "To Our Lord J, the Lotmon Emperor," and in brackets, "Don't drown any more Patamons." Um, well, first of all, no promises. Second, again, flattery is easily the way to get on the show. And unfortunately, the email's very long and very conversational. But what I will take out of it is that their interpretation is that the weapons are just like digital facsimiles, which is to say that they're not actually shooting bullets, that they're not actually shooting missiles, that they are just, I guess, flesh shapes, and the things they fire out are functionally similar to an energy beam. And I went over this last time, in that once you introduce gun imagery, you've really put yourself into a science fiction category and start having to explain yourself. And that does make sense. It doesn't make sense next to like the cactus, which is spraying needles everywhere. But it's complicated, obviously. I think at this stage you have to start wondering whether you're overthinking it, whether or not there is a problem on screen and you are frantically waving your hands to make the problem not a problem anymore. How deep does the how deep does the reasoning have to go before it's like, oh, it's fine, it all makes sense? Because it doesn't have to make sense. I'm questioning whether or not it does, but it's a kids show. Nowadays, so not nowadays, back in the day, they had that excuse. Nowadays, when you say it's just a kid show, that's meaningless because kid shows are really complicated and interesting. And the other thing that I took out of this was that um, the designs of the Digimon, including the weaponry, is primarily because they were designed by toy makers, and they would sell better. You can't market energy breath because it doesn't come out. But oh look, he's got missiles in his tits, and all of a sudden, kids are snapping it up like hotcakes. Kids like hotcakes nowadays, right?
Yeah, well, they're hot cakes.
Okay, good, good. This is important. And there were a few other emails, but I think they were mostly direct responses to us or links to things that weren't Digimon related. One more thing was that they praised you for coming up with me as a control experiment,
Mm.
despite human experimentation being illegal.
Jay's a good experiment.
I do my best.
And then on Tumblr, we have an Anonymon who asks us if we'll be touching on the drama CDs at all, and then says they were only released in Japan, so there's no changes to discuss. unless the entirety of them is considered to be lost in translation process, I suppose. So I haven't really thought about covering the drama series, but I have there's been one that I've considered, and it's the Valentine's Day one. I was considering doing like a special Valentine's Day episode where we like maybe read a transcript of the Valentine's Day drama CD, and then maybe we'll talk about our favorite ships or something. I don't know.
I will have nothing to say.
I own 3 of the drama CDs, just the first 3 that came out, which were also with the character songs. I understand like a very small amount of them. I know that in the third one, Takeru and Yamato meet Bakumon, which is like this little. It's called Tapiamon in the English version, and they say, "Oh, Bakamon," and they say, "No, not Bakamon, Bakumon," because they're calling it like Baka as in idiot, and that's about all the only bit of the drama CD I understood. But yeah, I haven't really thought about covering them except for the Valentine's Day one. I'm not sure if they're considered canon. Like, that's the reason we're covering the Wonder Swan games, is because they explain some stuff that we see but don't know why it happened, and it's not really explained, so maybe it sort of fills in potential plot holes. But as for the drama cities, like, oh, I guess we find out why one of the characters became a chosen child and what situation they were in, and I guess I'll talk about that one when we get to it. But besides that, I don't think any of them are necessarily vital to the story, unless I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, tell me the ones that are vital, because I'll want to cover those so we can make sure to fill in as many plot holes as possible, so Jay argues with me less.
This strikes me as very similar to the situation with The Witcher, which I will just tangent into slightly, because there's other media that's language locked. So The Witcher is a series of video games, and there are 3 of them right now. However, before the video games, there were books, and some of them were translated. Some of them, however, are just in Polish. So if you want to know the whole story of that game series, you have to know Polish, or have a friend who does, and who's willing to read a book for you. But yeah, so I'm not going to read. I'm not going to listen to these CDs. I'm not going to gather anything out of them.
I'll probably read you like a transcript or something.
Please
there are
don't
transcripts
do that.
Online.
Please don't. And as to shipping, I think that it is. Oh, I don't want to say morally bankrupt. That's a very strong word, but I think it's a bit gross to ship 10-year-olds.
Oh, this season doesn't have that much shipping compared to other seasons.
I think it's fairly gross.
Yeah, well, this season they're all quite young, but in other seasons when they're older, the shipping starts to be more common in the fan base.
Yeah, it's just a stance.
Like, people are not okay with shipping 10-year-olds, but as soon as these 10-year-olds are like 14, then it's okay to ship them.
I also don't think on shipping in general, I don't think that the conjecture is that interesting. If it's not present in the show, then presuming that it would happen outside of the show is pointless. You could make anything up like that. It turns out that Taichi really is in love with that toaster once. It doesn't matter. You can make up anything. I don't know. I don't understand shipping in these kinds of shows.
So there are some canon ships in Digimon that are actually proved to be canon.
A ship is not the same as a character relationship.
Yeah, but it's shipping. People ship them and then found out that they become a relationship. They get a relationship.
That's fine. That doesn't make the shipping element of it have a point to it.
It's for fun.
But what I'm saying is I don't understand that.
To each his own, I guess.
I guess.
Anyway, so another Anonymon said, listening to Obnoxious Synopsis this past week, I feel like May gets a little too leading in the questions about what Jay expects and accidentally nudges him towards hints for future events. It's more fun when he's speculating with less information. Also, in response to a previous week's episode, I knew a kid who was adopted and had concerns about whether they really belonged in their family sometimes. So Izzy's concerns about his adoption didn't seem that odd to me. And that's fair enough. Like, I never really No, I haven't even met anyone who's adopted that I know of. But yeah, I can understand why that would sort of like, do I belong here? And I guess in these episodes we see that these are his parents, even if they're not his biological parents. He loves them. Izzy sort of says, "Oh, even though they're not my biological parents, I still love them, and they're my parents, and I belong here." So I guess like we see that like he does have those concerns, but he realizes that they're still there. And as for the me hinting about stuff, it's really hard because I get really excited about these episodes. Sometimes I'll try to push him in the wrong direction as well. But
Thanks.
yeah, I try to sort of say, hey, what about this? This could happen, or oh, that would never happen, and sort of like try and push him away into different situations so he gets confused. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think that intentionally giving you wrong information distorts your experiment a little bit. So you might want to reconsider that.
Mm,
Also, you definitely do that outside of it, outside of the show when I'm speaking to you. But I mean, when we're doing the synopsis bit, you really should at least keep
yeah,
keep on message. Um,
yeah. Try stay neutral or something.
yeah. Uh, oh God, I got completely distracted by saying that. What was the other thing?
Oh, the adoption thing about
Yeah.
how Izzy didn't
So
feel like he belonged.
I'd get that if the family was bigger, and I don't know what the writer's situation is. So of course, their real life situation uh, probably trumps any conjecture I have on my part. But the way that the show positions it is very odd because he's an only child, and he found out that he was adopted fairly early and had years to acclimatize to it, and to see that his parents loved him the whole time with no undivided love to in fact I can't I can't imagine I can't imagine what he could possibly have felt he should fit into. If he doesn't fit in here, where should he be? Because the sense I usually get, and again, I'm completely it's from no experience of my own, because I've got none, and I don't know anybody who was. So maybe I'm full of crap. Maybe I'm really wrong. But the I don't know if I belong in this family situation would usually come up if you had siblings who you could, even if it's not true, you could imagine they're being treated better because they're really part of the family and you're not. But he has nothing to compare it to.
Mm.
So he's just there. And he's got these loving parents, and I just don't understand where it would come from. That's all I have to say.
All right. So another the last Anonymon said, so as of this point in the show, before the final arc takes off fully, what character development have you noticed so far? Who is the most and least changed from how they acted in the earliest episodes? And are there any major differences in their development that either of you have noticed between the sub and the dub? So straight away, Mimi. Like, I mean, she's still developed in the dub, but like her development is much later in the dub. Like she developed quite early on in the original version, but in the dub it's quite slower, if that makes sense. Like I don't think she really develops as a character until Flower Power, which is like what episode 35, 34 or something. So it's quite late. But and even then she still makes references to being a girl. As for characters who have changed, Jyou has changed tremendously, and in this episode we see that he's actually sort of a leader, like in a way saying, "Oh, don't worry, brother, I will make sure that I make the sun rise again for you." Even though this moment is kind of taken for laughs in the dub, it's a serious moment, and the whole episode he's very sort of like in the but when they all say, "Oh, we'll use our digivices to go back to the real world, the digital world," um, that's Joe's idea. But in the dub, he just says, "Oh, you guys can go without me." Like he wants to stay back. So again, they're cutting back his development, even though this is his idea. He's being brave. He's not being sort of, "I want to stay with what I know. I want to stay with the people." He's being quite brave himself, and we're seeing more of this from Joe. So I think Joe's actually matured a lot as a character. Probably the least is probably Takeru because he's 8. Like he doesn't have to really develop much. I guess Hikari also because she's been in the show for like 10 episodes.
I don't agree.
Really?
I think that TK has developed fairly well, given that he is 8, and that he's learned. He's telling adults, "Calm down, we've got this." And he's not panicking, he's not crying, he's doing a good job. The person who hasn't developed at all because he's garbage and the show never focused on him is Matt. Matt's
Oh
boring,
yeah.
and there's nothing. He's never done anything interesting. Nothing interesting has ever happened to him. And the only time he ever even had an episode that focused on his emotions was, "Oh no, I have friends."
Or oh no, my brother is in trouble.
Yeah, every emotional arc he has is I need to protect my brother,
Or I
which
have to punch Tai Chi.
which he always felt. It's not different.
I guess we get a little bit of his sort of character development when he's like talking about his family and how Takeru's like, I must pull my whole family together even though they're divorced and I'm probably make the situation really awkward. And Yamato's kind of like, oh yeah, have I grown? Sort of he's sort of bashful about it. It's kind of cute.
Um, yeah, I we glance their parents together in the second episode. Not It's not a big deal. I feel like the show refuses to address why they got divorced. In fact, they don't act like they are.
Oh, they kind of do. Like they reference how they're divorced.
Oh, they reference that they would. It feels like writers sat down and said these characters are divorced. Okay, what else are they defined by? Well, they love their children. Okay, but they don't let them live together. Well, why? Because they can't live together. Okay, so they see each other in the show, and what happens? They look at each other. They don't fight like you would imagine that divorced people would do.
I think they just don't want to fight in front of their kids. Like we saw that they'd have fought in the past because Takeru has a flashback, and he's saying, "Oh, you're getting all these stupid ideas, just like your dad." like, geez, like that's sort of like a reference to them fighting, and I don't think they really want to fight in front of the kids, especially when monsters are attacking.
I mean, well, the monsters weren't attacking at that stage, but yeah, maybe it's possible. Um, yeah, it's just the divorce is really understated.
I'm trying to think of who else has really grown. Like, I guess we've seen Taichi kind of grow, but I guess in his like the Metal Greymon episode. But I think the most probably Mimi and Joe, and I guess Sora. Like Sora's grown.
Sora's is really slow. The thing is that I think Sora's was the least. Oh, how do I put this? It was Sora's character is really confusing because it's very understated.
Mm.
Um, actually, I say it's really slow. It's the opposite. It was the fastest.
Yeah, it was the first.
It was the first
Basically.
and the fastest. It took place within one episode. It was, I don't know you people. Like I'm gonna be over here. I'm gonna be alone. What's this annoying pink bird? Please make it stop. And then she learns the power of friendship, and she's good for the rest of the season.
Well, she has that problem with love, but I think the dub actually gave her a bit more character development in the second episode because instead of her mum just calling out Sora, Sora, just calling out to her in the dub, she was saying Sora, I love you, and then Sora's like, oh, I love you too, mum, and it's like instead of just they scream each other's names, they added this sort of she knows that her mum loves her now and she's happy.
I understand love, and as a result, I can win fights.
I can punch fists, people.
Fist puncher, punch kicker. Um, yeah, so that's as far as we think about character development. I think Joe's is a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
Izzy's non-existent.
Oh no, he sort of
He
developed.
started as a nerd, he stayed a nerd. Nothing changed.
No, in the dub, he stopped talking about aliens
It's not character development.
at about
That's just
episode 8.
That's just them stopping having bad writing. Oh, other
I think
character
it was
development.
Jeff
Mimi
Nimoy that
lost
took
her
over.
brother and got over it very quickly.
Also, her dog.
And her dog, wow.
Yeah, they gave her a brother and a dog and instantly killed them.
And then randomly they gave Joe a brother.
I would like to point out that Joe actually has 2 brothers. We haven't met the second one yet, but in the dub, they keep it as one.
Because they only ever see one.
So there's one episode, and there's 2 of them just standing next to each other, and the dub's like, oh no.
I was like, look, it's
Clones,
my
I guess.
shadow.
Yeah, a very colourful shadow. And I can't remember when that happens, but it does happen at some point, I think. Anyway, so on to Fexmere, on with the will. He says that he wants to thank Jay for sticking to the podcast. His views and positions are fresh and different from diehard fans, making us see or think things we hadn't before. So thank you, Jay. We appreciate the effort you put into it. And then says about how we should turn the volume up because I actually de-amplify it when I'm editing because I think it's too loud, but I guess maybe I de-amplified it a bit too
Well,
much.
here's the
And it was
thing.
softer.
Obviously, people can just turn their volume down on their devices. So they want like sharp audio, and then they can turn it down if they want to.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll touch it less. And then he says that he was disappointed, but though not surprised, when Jay's heart wasn't utterly broken at Wizardmon's death.
I can't see how it would have been.
That's surprising. I love
Wizardmon has
Wizardmon.
the emotional depth of a brick and or a crowbar. I think a crowbar might be a better metaphor because what they did was they jammed open the show a little bit with him and they fed in some exposition and then they slammed it shut and they dropped him because he doesn't have a character. He was a tool. And when you can identify a narrative tool that's so disgustingly obvious, then it's super boring. Um, because his design was really interesting, and he had the potential to be cool because of his weird like magic, but
Hmm.
ended up being garbage. I'm gonna liken this to, and this is back in the day. I watched Bleach once, and by once I mean I watched like 200 episodes of it.
Hmm.
And Bleach has all these different arcs, and eventually they start putting in filler arcs. And here's the thing about filler arcs in Bleach: they had this one character. Basically, everyone in Bleach had these dudes with swords. And there's one character who was like a weird. He was a dude with sword hunter. He hunted them down usually, but he was working with them. And he had this weird bow, this energy bow. He was very different to everybody else. And he was interesting. But a filler arc would begin, and he would lose his powers every time. And then everyone with the swords would go and do their own thing, and he would have his little side arc of, oh, I got to get my powers back. And then something would happen, and he would get his powers back just as everyone else solved the problem. And then there would be these little. He got it back, but it's more powerful now. He gets it back more powerful because he got this charm, or he was inspired by his grandfather, or something would happen. And this would happen 3 or 4 times in different filler arcs. He would lose his powers, his friends would go off and solve the problem, and he would come back with slightly stronger powers because all his friends increased in power, and they had to justify why he could keep up with them. And this would happen over and over. And at some stage, you have to say to yourself, this is a narrative plot device, and I think it's stupid. This isn't something that you can get emotionally invested in because it's meaningless. Because a writer is sitting there saying not how do I communicate with my audience, but how can I make this happen with the least effort possible?
I liked it. Well, I didn't like it, but like my emotions like reacted to it.
But what emotional connection could you possibly have to this wizard?
Like I
What the,
guess I related to like I was like, oh, Hikari's sad and Garamon's sad and her crest is glowing, and it was just a. I felt like it was a good moment. Like I think they did it well.
no, you know what? I feel like you're reading a book, and in the book you read the line, and then everyone felt sad. This is that moment.
Yeah, but it wasn't written like that.
But
Like
when
we
you,
saw her be sad, we saw her be upset and not
but
good.
her Hikari has no emotional connection to this wizard. She met him yesterday.
It was through her friend Garamon.
Yeah, you know what? Gardemont's thing, legit. She's allowed to be sad, but it doesn't. As an audience, it doesn't matter. If anybody else had died at this stage, if Sora died, if Palmon died, I would care because I've hung out. I've as an audience member, I've hung out with them. I've been around them. I've seen their story. But Wizard's mom was. Do you remember that time we were friends? Do you remember that time we were going back and forth because you gave me water? And Garamond goes, Of course I remember that because I was there. But what if I just recount more of your backstory to you? And she's like, Yeah, you should do that. And that's what he was. And then, yeah, he found the crest, but I maintain that the crest shouldn't have been in the bird nest to begin with because that is the most ridiculous.
That's where he brought it. The bird.
But why did a bird pick it up?
Because it was shining.
No, because a cat took it. But why did that cat take it? Because another cat took it. And
Because
why
it was
did
shining.
I've been over this already, but the narrative sequence of getting the thing to the bird nest is the same thing as saying God reached down into the apartment, picked it up, and put it there. It's the same amount of, oh no, I'm so upset that that happened. Because it's it's garbage. It was garbage, and he fixed the garbage, but he was only there to fix the garbage they created in the beginning. Um, and what else did he do? He stood in the way of a blast, and you could argue. It's a really weird point of story construction because once you look at a finished product, you say, well, everything had to be as it was. But then sometimes you can look at a story and the phrase I use is you can hear the typewriter. You can hear someone frantically typing like, how do we make this work? Just do it. Just cram it all in and just it doesn't matter. It's the same as like a car falls from an aeroplane and smashes into the earth, and then everyone who's in the car just crawls out of it and is like, I'm fine. Because the person writing it didn't care.
Mm.
The person writing it said, it doesn't matter. A huge flock of birds came by that was heavy, that was dense enough and powerful enough to hold up this car because that's just what happens in my story. This cat knocks it off a balcony, chases it down, but just as he gets there, another cat gets it. Then a bird gets it. Then
But
a
it was in the
dog scares
script.
them away because it was in the script. And that's not what it should be. It should be because that makes sense for the character.
But well, they're cats. You don't know what they want to do. You don't know their life. You don't know their story.
But I know what cats are generally like. And this is not the weird, bizarre adventure that cats would do. I can understand you knocking off the balcony, and then it gets knocked around by some cars, and now it's in like the gutter. You're never gonna find that, and then you can stumble upon it later. But they had to go to the extent of getting a bird to pick it up,
Hmm.
a bird that I'm not even sure could lift that much weight. But that's
We don't
a
know how if Digivices are light or not.
that's a European versus African, unladen versus laden swallow kind of discussion at this stage, which is a bit deep. Um, But the point is that you didn't need to go to this extent, but it was so desperate to definitely get the Digivice out of the kids' hands and to fool them for 3 filler episodes so that they wouldn't figure out it was Kari. There was no reason. Here's the deal. If you had not taken the Digivice out of the house, Kari would have found it. They would have gone, "Hey, look, you're the eighth child," and then Gardamon would have figured it out on her own, and the story wouldn't have changed. You would have lost a couple episodes, but nothing interesting happened in those episodes anyway.
Hmm.
You would have fast forwarded the story slightly and not had so much weird narrative inconvenience.
All right. So then Vexmith says, in case you haven't gotten any questions to discuss this week,
Well, we did.
in light of Ty's character song showing up in this week's first episode,
It does.
what's your favorite Digimon character song or songs if you can't just pick one? And then he says that he likes Mirai no Message, Futari da La La La, Muteki no Batashi, and Daijobu. I really
Is that
like.
every character?
No.
How many characters was that?
It was a group of two characters, one character, one character.
So 6 out of the 8 kids.
Not from this season. Like I don't think any of them are from this season. Like they're season 2 and season 3 character songs, I believe.
I'm gonna say I'm fairly clueless about this question. I know one character song, and it's Matt's, and only because he plays it directly.
Well, know Love Serenade, which is actually one of my favorites.
I guess that counts.
So basically, I like all of the first season character songs except for maybe
You
Takeru.
can't say that. Didn't he ask about a favorite?
He says song or songs.
Yeah, you can't say all of them.
But there are lots of different character songs. I mean, I really like Sora's because I relate to it a lot. Like, there's a part where she says, even though I'm smiling, sometimes I just feel like crying. And it's just like, oh, that's really deep for a little 10-year-old.
Well, it's because the 10-year-old doesn't sing it.
Yeah, she does.
When?
I mean, it's her character song. Her character sings it
When? When did she sing it?
in the CD.
Oh, but that's not in the show.
Yes, but it's still a character song. We hear this song in the background.
You know what that sounds like? It's like
What?
a Zack Snyder movie. Zack Snyder has this really bad. Is a director has this really bad habit of like when someone on the screen is having an emotion, instead of showing the emotion, or perhaps having what you'd imagine like an emotional orchestral score, he plays a song where the lyrics tell you what they're feeling like.
Hmm.
Like, I'm so sad. And so the music's talking about how sad you're meant to feel.
But I think Love Serenade is actually one of my favorites.
Now, your favorite's Bolero. Let's just cut to the chase.
Oh, that's not a character song.
The character is all Digimon, and you've already established you're allowed to do that.
I really like a from season 2. It's called Honto no Tsuyo, I think. I can't say the characters because that might be spoilers, but I can say it's Honto no Tsuyosa, which means true strength. I think Honto means really, but yeah, it's true strength. So it's like really real strength or like big strength. Yeah,
Really strength.
really strength. But yeah, that's a pretty good song. I really like it. I'm trying to think of what else. I really like
You're really feeling it.
I really like I really like Supergirl, and Koyobi no Fantasy. It's a really good song. It's really cute. I like it.
I will take your word for it.
And I'm not sure if this counts as a character song, but Shinka de Guts is so cool. I love it because it's like a character song for all the Digimon.
I see.
I should show it to you. It's really good.
I like the Digirap.
That's not a character song for MCP Podmon.
Well, it is, yeah.
And then Fexmith said that he wanted to say that Prophecy felt way more mysterious in his childhood. Today he feels like, it's just so obvious. But I remember scratching my head to what it actually meant back then. And that's fair enough. I don't really think it's obvious, but maybe I'm just slow. But I mean, it's obvious now I know what it is. Like, it makes sense. And we'll talk about that. We're going to have a special segment where we talk about the prophecy and if Vamdamon's motives were reasonable.
Hint they weren't.
I think they were. So it's going to be a segment called Venom My Motive Mon.
Which is a terrible but also lovely name.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, that'll be after we're done discussing the episodes. And I'd like to point out beforehand that Jay is a law student, so he knows how to argue.
I'm okay at it.
Yeah, but you like to have a bit of an argue.
I do enjoy that, you're right.
And then finally, Fexmith says, also we get to see one of the scenes that spawns so much Taito pairings, so yay for that. So I was watching this episode with my mum and I was watching this episode with mum and dad, and my mum said, "Are they in love?"
Obviously.
Yep. So yeah, people do ship Tai and Yamato because they hold hands, and I think they're cute, but I don't. I'm not really a big shipper, so much as like I'll appreciate some moments, but I'm not a huge shipper. But they're all right. I like the holding hands. All right, so on to I will show you DigiWorld. So this week, we were suggested by Quad Vespa on Facebook, who said that he would like to hear our opinion on the new trailer for Digimon World Next Order, and he also wants us to see the Digimon Link. He would see us talk about the Digimon Links mobile game app, which I haven't really looked at much because it might not come to here, and I probably won't be able to play much of it. But Next Order, maybe I'll learn Japanese and then buy it.
I'm gonna say that the mobile one looks like complete garbage. It looks like absolute free-to-play garbage, and it just looks awful. So there's that. What was it?
Digimon World Next Order was the Vita game.
That's a Vita game?
Yeah, I think so.
Looks all right. I can't tell. Are they creator characters or are they from a different season?
They're just characters for the game. There's a girl and a boy, I believe.
Okay, they look like creator characters. Yeah, it looked fine. The battle system looked pretty bad, to be honest. I don't see the appeal of it, but that's just me.
I'll buy it if I can get my hands on it. Like,
well,
maybe
you'll buy
I'll know
everything with the word Digimon on it. In fact, I could get a cardboard box, write the word Digimon in Sharpie, and probably sell it to you for about $50.
No.
Okay, no, I had to draw Gabumon on it first, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right here.
See, what I'm really excited for is Cyber Sleuth, to be honest.
Cyber. Yeah, I
That's
hear
the
good
one
things.
that's being localized.
Yeah.
Like I've heard really good things about it. But Next Order looks good. Like you can have two Digimon in it for the first time. Like I mean, there's games you've had three before, but this is like a I don't know, you get two of them, and the we've seen a boy with an Agumon and a Gabumon, and a girl with a Piyomon and a Palmon, and I'm just happy you can get a Palmon because Palmon's the best.
I mean,
Jay likes Palmon.
that's just your opinion, man.
You like Palmon though.
It's all right.
You like her voice.
Could be worse.
But yeah, so that's it for I Will Show You Digiworld, I guess. So if you want to send us any suggestions for I Will Show You Digiworld or any questions, we've got a Gmail, lostintranslationmon@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. We have a discussion thread on With the Will. You can comment on this episode on SoundCloud, or you can message us on SoundCloud. And we'd really appreciate if you reviewed us on iTunes or Stitcher.
It would be sick.
And we
Fully
can get
sick,
onto the
bruh.
we can get onto the episodes now.
We can do that.
Episode 38 starts off with a prophecy, and it's basically the same in both versions, but for some reason in the dub, the line "please always recycle" is added onto the end of it, and I don't know why.
It's a joke. It's a cute little joke.
But why? I think the prophecy should be this should be the time to be serious.
No, it's the English version.
So then Joes goes back home and he finds his brother, who in the English version was hiding, but in the Japanese version, Shin was just sleeping and didn't know what was going on.
That sounds about right.
I mean, I guess he's a doctor, so maybe he was just sleeping off being on an on-call last night or something.
That's entirely
But
possible.
yeah,
I like the idea because I complained about this in my notes. I go, why would there be a sibling that didn't see the big Digimon fight when they were younger? And I go, well, actually, it kind of makes sense because he would just be sleeping in the closet the whole time
well, why did Mimi's little brother not see the Digimon fight?
because he's dead.
Oh, that's depressing.
He's not alive.
Anyway, so they go over to the conference center, and Shin is checking the pulse, and in particular, the people who he's checking the pulse of are his parents, but in the dub, it's not really said whose pulse he's checking. Takeru and Yamato are on the boat with their father, and they're looking for Takeru's mum, but in the dub, they're not looking for anyone. They're just really looking, and it's not really explained well what they're doing in the dub. They're just on a boat for some reason. But it's actually explained that they're looking for the mum in the Japanese version.
Oh, I was about to say when we talk about the brother, the brother's voice actor is garbage
In which version?
in English.
I thought it was
I
normal.
can't tell good or bad voice actors in Japanese.
Oh, what about the crotch pie though? That has a stupid voice.
You're right, crotch pies have pretty bad voices.
So in the original, Koshiro starts talking to his parents, and they seem a lot softer. They're like, "Oh, well, the truth is, yeah, you're adopted," but they sort of rush straight into like, "Oh yeah, the truth is you're adopted." They rush straight into it in the English version.
I
They
know.
talk about it, and then they're talking about how Izzy's adopted, and then in the Japanese version, Tentamon is eavesdropping, and he says, "Cry your heart out and let yourself be pampered and loved." But in the dub, he's just saying, "Oh, at times like these, I really wish I had a Digimummy."
Have we established what a Digimami is quite yet? Because I don't think we have.
I don't think they have Digimummies.
No, the point is he wishes he had one. Of course he doesn't have one. But it's like, what would that be?
I think in like season 5 we get sort of like a mother figure Digimon, I think. And then they're asking Tailmon why she reverted to adult instead of child, and in the original version she says, "Oh, I have a different level of discipline." And I found that interesting because Jay has asked this a few times, like, why is she always adult? And it explains like she has a different level of discipline, which like
Also known
she's
as
grown.
narrative convenience.
Well, what's wrong with Plotmon? I like Plotmon.
There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that everyone else gets to be. Everyone has to be their rookie stage, I think it is. The Agumon, etc.
Yeah, unless they've used up a lot of power,
They
then
all
they
have
go
to be
to
that at
their
a basic
babies.
stage. But Gatomon gets to be is the same size, but is one level higher than all of them.
Yep.
And when they de-evolve to the same level as everyone else, they look like a baby, but isn't a baby, and everyone else when they're a baby looks like that. It's really weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The
I
idea
like it.
Plotmon looks way too like soft in compared to like everyone else.
Patamon. She looks
Nope,
exactly like
does
Patamon.
not. Looks way softer. Even then, because Padamon's got like sharp edges on his ears and such. He's got clearly defined lines. This is just a pile of goo with legs. Um, a vaguely dog-shaped pile of goo with legs.
It's adorable.
You're not wrong.
And
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 then
then so Talmon says that she and Patamon have to go, and it's she has a plan, and then so Patamon and Gardamon evolve to Angemon and Angelwomon. This is like the fourth time that Patamon's ever evolved. Anyway, so Izzy and so this is a problem in the dub because Izzy calls Angemon Patamon's fully evolved form, which is not right.
not true.
Because we know that he has a crest. We know that if he activates that crest and actually wants Patamon to super evolve, he will get to perfect level. I just don't think. I think he can, but he just doesn't want him to because he's worried.
But which makes no sense because like he's evolved enough times now, he should be comfortable, and he's seen everybody else. Like I get the storyline you'd push of like I don't want to evolve because of like Skull Greymon, etc. But I think everyone's done it enough times, and
No, it's
everyone's
not because of that. It's because
and
like
he died once.
he died once and he's scared about that.
But he's already done it enough times, and he hasn't died.
This is his fourth time, and
Yes, and
so a
that's
quarter of the
enough.
times he's died.
Yeah, but that was only the first time, and yeah, I get it. Like a death rate of 25% is pretty bad,
When
but
you're 8, it's not a good thing.
it's not the same because it's like the first time you made a thing, you made it wrong, and then every other time you made it right. They're very, very different issues. Um,
Well, it's getting better because this is like the third time he's evolved in the last few episodes. Like it's getting more frequent. Like last time it was probably about 20 episodes before he evolved again. This time it's like, 2 episodes
yeah.
or
Also,
in this
have
case one
they?
episode.
They don't evolve until the big dude shows up, do they?
He's shown up at this point.
Did we mention that he has?
No?
Well, maybe we should do that since
Oh
it's
yeah.
very important.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
There's a whole
Vandemon
basically
shows up.
there's this whole thing where the mist hasn't gone away, and people are going like all hail Vandemon, which is confusing because obviously he's meant to be dead. Um, and the kids are all confused because that's what they do. They are confused constantly. Um, and bats show up because that's what they do, and they coalesced. And I think they abduct a bunch of Digimon, but only the evil ones, because it'd be very inconvenient if they ate one of the actual kids' Digimon. And they form up this giant mega thing, which I'm going to say right now, this is exactly what I envisioned when I did the obnoxious synopsis.
No, it isn't. You said a jester or a panda
No, 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 no,
mannequin.
no. No, what I mean is when I said that like the real evil big evil guy will show up in the last 2 episodes and be instantly defeated, this was the scenario I was
I thought you were
imagining.
talking like the last evil guy.
No, no,
It's like,
that's what
what kind of evil guy will show up for like 2 episodes?
that is what I meant when I said it originally, but this is the kind of scenario that I would this is the kind of thing I meant. It's a similar situation is what I'm trying to say. Does that not make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very similar to the idea, which is like, oh, you'd beat the bad guy. Surprise! It wasn't the big bad guy. This is, and but
It's
then
the
it's
same Digimon though. It doesn't. I don't count it as two separate Digimon. I
oh,
count it as the same Digimon.
I guess if yeah, sure. I guess in my
You had no idea. You said that this was a brand new one that
oh
would
no,
be serious, and this is the first time I've
for
seen.
this episode I was wrong. I didn't, but it was a similar scenario, is what I meant. Anyway, that's we're getting way off topic here.
Yeah. So so anyway, Koshiro is explaining evolution to his parents, and it's fair enough. Well, to his father, he's saying, "Oh yeah, that they evolve from like Tentomon goes to Kabuterimon, and then Kabuterimon goes to Kabuterimon." But in the
Because
in the
parents
dub,
understand that.
yep,
Parents
in
are
the
really
dub,
good with that.
the father says, "Is your schoolwork suffering from fighting the Digimon?" Even though I'm pretty sure they're on summer holidays, right?
Yeah, because the camp was just like a week ago. In fact, no, it was like 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was summer camp still. It's like, well, Wizardmon dies on August 3rd, and I'm pretty sure it's the same day still, so it's still August 3rd. Wow, these whole things have taken like 2 days.
Yeah.
This whole series.
Well, this whole arc, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not the best.
yeah, yeah. So there are bits of fighting that are cut. Bits of fighting like Metal Greymon and where Garurumon being like slapped around.
I guess the bit where basically all the Digimon power up and they go to fight the big bad guy, and the episode turns into a huge schmoz, and they just fight a lot. There's just so much fighting.
Yeah. So then they're feeling all like that they've lost hope. Where Garurumon and Metal Greymon have like de-evolved, and then they think about the prophecy and about how
So
the two angels. Yep.
can we just address exactly what the prophecy is?
Yep. Sure. You can read it out if you want.
I need to find it. Okay. So, where is it? Where is it? And it's should be here. Come on. Where's the prophecy? Yeah. It's not showing me the prophecy.
It should be just under Wikimon Digimon Wiki for prophecy. I've got
Okay,
it.
so
Don't worry.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
I just found it. So it's the sky will be darkened by the wings of many bats. That's very straightforward. The fallen people will invoke the name of the undead Digimon King. Okay, well, fallen people, there's lots of people on the ground, but okay, that's
They're
vague.
asleep. They're asleep.
Undead Digimon King. I think they could guess that one. And when the clock strikes the hour of the beast, all right, you could pretend that one's confusing. The undead king will reveal himself in his form as the true beast. None of that's even relevant, actually. Then angels will shoot arrows of hope and light. Oh my god, that is disgustingly straightforward. At loved ones of those been sent to protect, and a miracle will happen.
Please always recycle.
Please always recycle. But like, a miracle will happen. Is such a look. All of your problems are going to be solved. Don't worry about it. This prophecy is garbage.
I like it.
You shouldn't. I can't make you not like it, but you shouldn't like it.
Well, I think it explains Modusmon. We'll get to that later.
I don't. What? No, there's no motivation in here at all.
Yes, no, I'll explain to it in our special segment.
Fine, fine. Let's all pretend that will make sense at the time. It
All right.
won't.
So, anyway, so then they decide that Anjumon and Anjuwoman should fire their arrows at Taichi and Yamato. And in the original, Yamato and Taichi both admit to being scared, but in the dub, neither admit to being scared. So what happens in the original is Yamato says, "Are you scared?" And Taichi says, "No way, but that would be a big lie." And then Yamato said, "Actually, so am I." And then he grabs Taichi's hand and he says, "Hold on tight so I don't run away." And then Taichi says, "That goes the same for me." And this activates both their crests. Taichi is being courageous, and Yamato is holding his friend's hand and he's finding safety in his friend being there. He's saying, "Hold me so I don't run away." So I took that as both their crests activating, so they're able to get more power, I guess. But in the dub, it's just...
Scared, Ty? No, not at all. How about you, Matt? Of course not. Piece of cake. But maybe I'll just hang on to you to make sure you don't chicken out or anything. Yeah, right. I'll do the same for you, buddy.
One miracle!
Coming up.
Oh, it's so garbage.
So they sort of take this as a neither wants to admit they're scared. They're obviously both scared, but it wasn't taken in a, "you hold my hand so I don't run away." It's taken in sort of, well, he says the opposite, but what he means is, I think, "I need to hold your hand because I'm scared." But it's actually, "I hold me so I don't run away." So I don't know why they had to change it. I guess they wanted to make it funny, I guess. So then, of course, the warp evolution is triggered. And for some reason in the dub, Agumon gasps before evolving. Like, he goes, "Oh!" And then the original episode ends with Metal Garurumon and War Greymon standing in front of Venom Vandemon. and they're about to fight, but for some reason they changed this in the dub and they just grabbed both end scenes from the evolution and just sort of made a split screen of it. I guess to say these are the Digimon, but you already see them in the original, so I'm not really sure why they changed it.
Because they had to, obviously. Yeah, it's just a huge fight. Like half the episode just goes down the drain. It's actually really frustrating.
So, what did you think of this episode as someone who was new to Digimon?
It's I'm so sure that in the prophecy they'd explain everything, but they did the opposite. Nothing was explained. In fact, it was all obfuscated further by like, this is what was motivating him. The motivation of a miracle will happen. Oh no, a miracle.
So, how did it compare to what you thought about this episode prior to watching? Like, about what we talked about in Obnoxious Synopsis.
Try to remember what I thought about this episode.
I just sent it to you.
Oh God, right, you wrote notes about this now. We learned. Okay, we did not learn what his plan actually was. Oh, I guess we kind of
we
did,
do.
which is to take over the world. But he did already say that.
No, but like...
I mean, his plan with regards to the kids. And
yeah,
I mean,
no, that is definitely obvious in the prophecy.
okay, well, it raises more question than it answers. Again, I will tell them I was not wrong. He did tell them the prophecy. Real world merging with digital world, totally right. I'm pretty much sure I was exactly correct on that. It's a bit of a mystery still, but still, 20 minutes of talking, that was wrong. That's next episode. Hoping all dialogue that's interesting. I'm pretty correct about only 30% of it being interesting, everything else being confusion. Just not the way I said it was. I I did not like it because the prophecy was bad. And the prophecy did not make. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. The prophecy made perfect sense. It made too much sense. It was disgustingly obvious. Like,
So,
it was awful.
so what differences did you notice? And do you think they were justified?
I didn't notice any. Like, I really.
Please always recycle?
I guess there was that. I just didn't notice when it came out because I watched the English one first. And I've said this before, there's a really big deal about why we watch the Japanese first because it's much more subdued. Because you get the story and that's all you get. And so it's much easier to notice when English adds something. It's and obviously it's much more obvious when something is added than when something is taken away because you're watching something. Um, and I found it I told May this because I thought this episode was so bad. Because nothing happens. Uh, I found it really hard to concentrate watching it again, especially when it was much more subdued and they've taken out all the English like wackiness. There was I think one bit of this episode I actually liked, and it's so minor. I mean, there's the warp evolutions, which I think are really dumb because they do they have to do that every time? From now on, if they ever want to evolve, do they need to get other people to evolve and shoot them? Or is that only this time?
It's only this time. It's the first time.
Well, that's stupid. But also, the only thing I ever liked about this was this one moment where Gomamon climbs on Joe's head.
That's next episode.
Oh, is it? Then I didn't like this
Yep.
episode at all.
Yeah, episode 39 I thought was better, and I guess we'll get to that now. So, episode 39 starts again with Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon, and they're fighting him. Venom Iotamon is much stronger than them, that he just sort of hits them away.
So this is this weird precedent the show has set up, and maybe at any other time I'd be like happy that this is what happened because it's not quite so predictable. But this is a very wrestling thing where you've set up these two new guys, and you're like, look at War Greymon, look at Metal Greymon, War Garurumon. Oh, look how amazing they are. And then the very first fight they get into, they get smashed, and you're like, well, that wasn't very impressive.
They do make them seem kind of weak.
Wow, I'm really glad you discovered this new evolution beyond ultimate/perfect.
Well, this is the ultimate mega level.
Is that a new thing? Two words?
It's ultimate or mega level.
Oh.
It's ultimate in Japanese and mega
Okay.
in English.
For the record, though, there are two Digimon who are better than perfect, and they instantly lose.
Well, Venom Venom Myotismon is a Mega or Ultimate level.
There's two of them. Anyway, yeah, I just think it's really garbage that they were introduced only to immediately lose and show how terrible they are. That the one thing that the individual evolution episodes did was show you how competent the new evolutions were, how they could solve problems all by themselves,
Mm.
which felt really weird when they were all together and getting punked by Gardomon specifically.
Oh god, yeah, she's pretty strong.
Just wrecks Metal Greymon for no reason. Okay.
So something I've noticed is that Venom, if they always make the enemies talk more in the dub. Like Venom Myotismon seems like he's a bit out of control and a bit like a rabid monster, scary, growly thing, but he talks a lot more and he's still got that sort of attempted sass joke thing that the dub forces on every character that ever talks.
Well, that's a difference in, I think, and I'm not an expert on this, but a cultural view of bad guys, where Japanese is much more used to kaiju. Look at this giant monster; they're evil, and you have to stop them. The Western view is much more twirly mustache, like
Comedic villain.
evil man in top hat, especially in a kids show. Like a comedic villain is what you're going for, and just like giant evil vampire that is here to crush the city is a bit serious for the Americans.
Mm. I mean, I think I prefer the kaiju.
Yeah, probably.
So then Gomamon, Piomon, and Palmon are all talking about how they want to fight. And then I noticed that Dub Mimi says something actually useful and insightful. In the dub, she says, "Our parents always protected us. Now it's our turn to protect them." And in the Japanese version, this is her saying, "I want to beat Vamdemon for what he's done to Mama and Papa." So it's basically the same thing. So they basically, in the dub, kept a line about her doing something other than being a girl and hiding like with her tail between her legs. Like she's actually being kind of brave, and they're actually giving Mimi like this little push. They're saying you can actually be more than what we've made you.
However, consider that line and just be like, yeah, your parents did a real good job of protecting you from Kuwagamon or
Well, they weren't
Edamon.
there.
Good job.
They weren't there.
It's just a really weird line to say when you have been legitimately protecting yourself from world-ending threats for 6 months.
That's not her parents' fault. And also,
It's
it's
not,
been
it's not
like
the parents'
2 days.
No, but 6 months in your perspective. Where they're like, they've always protected us. For the last 6 months, you haven't been around them and you've been protecting yourself just fine. It's
Well,
just, it just seems really weird.
I guess the line makes more sense in the Japanese version. How she wants to beat Vamdemon for what he's done to Mama and Papa. Like that's fair enough. That's straightforward.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the original. Like I think the original lines do tend to make more sense than the dub lines. So then, when they're all like having their moment of we have to fight, Goemon. This is when Goemon jumps up on Joe, and it's really cute. He's like, "Let's go!" It's really cute. And then Joe runs off and is very sort of like a leader, as I was saying earlier. He's being tough and strong. And then Sora faces Shin and says, "Please take care of everyone. Like, please take care of my family," and stuff like that. But in the English version, he's saying, "Oh, please excuse Joe's hyperactive behavior." I'm like, what? He's fine. And also, this is his brother. I don't know why they had to change that line. And then TK is calling out for Yamato, and that's fine.
When was All for Mon and Mon for All?
Oh, that was it. That was up when Goemon jumps on Joe, and it's really cute.
That was awful.
In the English version, yeah.
So bad. I like the Japanese one. It's like, "Hey Joe, this is where you say let's go, Goemon." And he's like, "Oh yeah, let's go."
Instead of All for Mon and Mon for All.
Terrible.
Yeah. So Takeru is calling out for Yamato, and that's fine. But in the English version, they've changed this to Angemon, get Venom Myotismon. I don't know why. Like he's calling out for his brother because he's worried about him. And then Angemon gets hit by a flying rock because she's distracted by Hikari, who is also calling out for her brother. This part's removed. Angemon is hit and flies into a building. This is also removed. So again, they're removing violence from this episode.
It's almost like you should probably leave the violence in the episode that's all about fighting.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not actually that violent. Like, she's just hit by a flying rock. So then Tentomon sees that the others evolved to adult, but for some reason in the dub he feels the need to say, look, it's Bergermon and Ikakumon and Togemon. Like he's saying, look, it's those characters we definitely know the names of. But I noticed an animation error. Koshiro's Digivice is purple, which usually only happens when Tentomon is perfect level. And Tentomon does not become perfect level, he becomes adult, but this is also before he even becomes adult, so he's in a child form, and his Digivice is glowing purple. Did you notice that?
No, that is
I was really confused
way
by it.
too deep.
I actually noticed it. I was like, is that meant to happen? So I looked on the Digimon wiki, and apparently there were lots of animation errors where like someone's feet were the wrong color, or Palmon was like completely green, and I never noticed any of these, and I noticed this one. So it's nice that I actually noticed an animation error.
It's like in that episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender when Sokka's hair is perfectly backwards, so it looks like he has hair on the side of his head and none on the top.
So then the crotch pie comes out.
Yeah, it just this crotch vampire shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and has a really high-pitched voice. Like, I am the evil Vandemon's crotch! That, I guess your dogs liked that.
Yeah, they really like the crotch voice.
And so, in the original, nobody is talking. Everyone's just looking really upset. But in the dub, all they're doing is talking about how, like, they've all lost hope and how they're going to lose. And, like, I guess that's... They didn't just want them to look hopeless, they had to actually sound hopeless. And then in the dub, I guess they've made what they say relate to their crests. So it explains why their crests are glowing, and this holds Venom Vamdemon down. And in the dub, of course, they have to explain everything, so Tai is explaining what's happening. And the crotch pie is like, rah, I'm a crotch pie, rah! And then
And it's spewed black everywhere.
Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon start playing football. And with the Fuji building ball thing.
They're playing soccer.
So then Venom Vamdemon's defeated.
So wait.
Yay.
So before he's defeated, the kids hold out their Digivices and these weird lassos of light come out.
Yep.
And it occurs to me that perhaps if he had killed any of these kids beforehand, then they wouldn't be able to use these light chains to, keep him in place.
He didn't know this could happen. No one knew.
Do you know what he would have known? That murdering the opposition when they are weak and you are strong is probably an advantage.
We're not going to talk about this now.
I thought it had to be mentioned at least once.
We're all moving it into one big segment. That's why I decided to make the special segment.
If I gotta.
All right. So everyone wakes up, and then Mimi asks who Plotmon is, and then Plotmon explains, "Oh, I'm Tailmon," and then in the dub, Kari says that her apartment doesn't allow pets, and this is definitely a lie because we've seen that they have had a pet cat for at least 4 years in that apartment. Oh no, it wasn't that apartment, was it in the prequel? But they definitely do have the cat.
Yeah, no, but that cat's a shit. Throwing out her Digivice out the window.
It's still a cat. So then the sky clears, and then we see a world in the sky. So Takeru sees his mum, and then because he likes awkward situations, he brings her over to see Yamato and his dad. And then she says, "Oh, you've grown taller." And in the dub, she says, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." And then in the dub, Matt just shrugs it off and just says, "Yeah, whatever."
Because he's too cool.
But in the original, he's just shy. And in reply to her saying, "You've grown taller," he just says, "Yeah, a little." And then
get off my back, Mom.
And then she sees her ex-husband who is smoking, and by smoking, I mean hot. Look, he's definitely the hot dad.
You mean smoking?
So then, like, a plane drops out of the sky, and something happens in the original version, which is no in English. It's in the original version, but the plane says it in English. I don't know. I found it funny.
It's alright.
So then Joe's big brother is on a motorbike and tells everyone that their parents are okay. And then Joe calls this motorbike his Joe's scooter. Like he said, "Oh, why are you borrowing my scooter?" So then Shin grabs the portable TV and it shows the news. And he shows that the sky is shown throughout the world. And then Koshiro realizes that it's a digital world. Taichi uses the telescope that we haven't seen since like the first arc, and he sees a plane which loses power,
So you're kind
and
of
Piyamon
winding
evolves.
down this thing here, but this is actually halfway through the episode.
Yeah,
It's really weird that like the bad guy gets defeated in 1.5 episodes, which is enough time to have another full like another 10 minutes of just like, oh, they're
plot.
gone now. All right, what the hell is happening here? And they're just forgetting about them.
Yeah. So because there's an important thing that's happening in the sky. So Piyamon evolves to help, and for some reason we see another angry Kawagamon, which seems to be a thing. We saw it in the first episode of Digimon. We've seen it in the Tri trailer. We see it in Anode Tamer, which I'm playing at the moment. What is with it with these really angry Kawagamon that keep on showing up?
The dicks.
And I'm only realizing it now. Like, what is with these Kawagamon just being... Like, do the creators really like angry Kawagamons? I think
we've
we've also seen
established-
one earlier too.
We've already discussed this, I think, a few times, mostly prompted by me, which is that I say they're inherently evil. Like, and you're like, well, they're wild animals. Well, some wild animals are just aggressive.
Yeah. It's Red Baronmon.
Yeah, Red Baronmon. That's a classic.
So then Birdramon evolves because the plane's wings got broken because it made contact with Kawagamon. And then originally Sora just says Birdramon, like she calls out to her, and in the dub she says, no, Birdramon, you have to digivolve. And then she evolves, but then Tentomon evolves to help, and so he can fight Kawagamon while Garudamon grabs the plane. And in the dub, somebody says, I think it was Tai or Joe, says, well done, you got them down safely. But nobody really says anything in the original. So again, it's another case of the dub explaining what's going on. Like, they're explaining what's on the screen a bit too much, I think. Because this keeps on happening. So then we go back to Shin's portable TV, and we see that there's a Gorillamon in America, the best Digimon, Airdramon in Russia, Tyrannomon in France, and then the Kawagamon in Japan. And it's, and so Russia is completely screwed over because Airdramon's clearly gonna wreck some stuff down there, up there, because best Digimon. What do you think?
I think you're lame.
No, I think Airdramon's
I think you and your Airdramon are super lame.
Then Plotmon and Tokamon say the digital world must be in bad shape. Taichi says that we have to go back. In both versions, he says we have to go back.
Let's be real, the digital world was never in any good shape.
It was not in terrible shape.
It was randomly full of black gears, there's super evil people all around.
It's not in your sky. It's not in the sky of the real world.
It's true. I wonder if the real world is in the sky of the digital world at this stage.
So then, this is the part I was talking about earlier about Joe's character development. And Joe says that the Digivices took them back last time, so maybe they'll take them back this time. But in the dub, it sounded like he's trying to back out of going there. It's like, oh, you guys can go. I'll stay here. So they do this, and the portal opens. So Takeru's mum calls out, and Takeru says, no, I have to go. And then his dad says, oh, we should let them go because we've done some selfish things too. So this is referring to the divorce. And then Yamato says, don't worry, I'll protect everyone. And this is kind of an emotional time for all the characters. Then Shin starts being really pessimistic and saying, that the sun will never rise again. And then Koshiro's mum starts yelling at him. But in the dub, he's made a joke about how the fate of the world is in a group of children's hands, and this is why Koshiro's mum's yelling at him. So I guess he's nicer in the original, because everyone's really mean in the dub apparently. So then Joe says in both versions, don't worry, I'll make sure the sun does come up again. So Sora swoons, and then Mimi says, no, it doesn't suit you. And then he gets embarrassed and falls towards the beam. So everyone jumps in the beam. Then, and I said this earlier, Sora's mum calls out her name, but in the dub, her mum says that she loves her and to come home soon. And everyone just calls out to their parents. So as you can see, I have a lot of notes here. Jay doesn't because he's just waiting for the time where we get to argue.
I have almost nothing to say about these episodes because it's so much fighting, and it's so much fighting over pretty much nothing. I said this, and I think we posted it on Facebook, which is that Venom Vamdemon, as much as he was built up, I mean, he wasn't built up that much, but there was a prophecy about him being the Demon King and also the Beast. And the entirety of what he did was stand there, do some property damage in Tokyo, and then lose.
Mm.
He didn't. I don't even think he killed. You know what? He probably killed some people because they were in the buildings, but I mean that's never shown or talked about.
That's because of the kids show.
I know, but like at least you say like people are screaming and running away. But the entirety of what you're shown is the kids fight him, and win really easily. Like not as easily as your regular run of the mill. I evolved and I beat you instantly, but it was super easy compared to how tough it should be.
So, what did you think of this episode as someone who is new to Digimon?
Uh, well, I thought the fight was boring because it was pointless, and the Crotch vampire that spews black mist was super weird. Um, and I don't know how to judge the ending because the fusing of the worlds in this weird semi-portal way, I can't judge it till I have more information. So at this stage, I don't think I like this episode better than the last one because at least stuff happened. But I don't really like it. I guess the one thing I do like is that it gives the kids something to do, which is it gives them a motivation. But even though they have a motivation now, it's not clear what they should do because they have no idea what the cause of this thing is. And the likelihood is, and what should happen in any kind of realistic scenario, is they teleport back into the digital world. They're in a forest and they go, "Oh yeah, we have no idea where this is coming from."
Well, yeah, they've already said that. They said that they don't know that the time had like a lot of time would have passed because of the time has the time's gotten normal again. And this is said in the original version, I think.
Yeah, so I guess they'll figure it out because they've only got so many episodes.
Yeah. So how did it compare to when you first what you spoke about in Obnoxious Synopsis?
So I said that it opens a portal from the digital world to the real world so the Digimon can come and take over. There was a portal opened, a Digimon came through, and well, many Digimon came through, but it wasn't at the behest of the main bad guy. It was as a result of him dying, so I guess I'm wrong. A comedic. Well, I can't. Anything I say in here about a new bad guy is wrong, because the new bad guy already came in and he's dead now.
Well, I don't think he's not a new bad guy.
Well,
He's the same bad guy.
we've never seen a big bad evolve before, so it counts. Um, so yeah, the bad guy be
Well,
something.
no, Edamon came back as like a big ball.
No, he just fused into another thing. He didn't
Yeah.
evolve.
How is that different?
It's like picking up a weapon, as opposed to you physically growing weapons out of your body.
Yeah, but it's the same Digimon.
Yeah, but Venom Vandemon isn't.
I'm saying Venom Vamdemon and Vamdemon, the same Digimon. They have the same
Arguably.
memories. They have the same cause.
So the final big bad will last 2 episodes. Well, that's not about the battle to Earth specifically, obviously, because that's very much in the future. But I'm gonna take it because it's exactly what happened to Venom Vandemon. And it's gonna be a bad version of Flower Power. Nah, yeah. It was a pretty bad version. I don't know if it's comparable to that episode. And the prophecy would be better if we meet the bad guy. And the story episode, and then
That's more of like
I was so
when you compare
wrong.
both of them.
I
Yeah,
couldn't have been more wrong on that one.
it's basically the opposite. The first one was a fighting episode, and the second one was a story episode.
Yep, which is very weird because you'd think a discussion of the prophecy, which would have been a motivation, would have given you some indication of story.
So, what differences did you notice, and do you think they were justified?
I didn't notice.
Oh, Shin's different.
What?
Shin's different.
Or Jim?
Yeah.
He's a little bit different. I like his line in the first one. It's like, "What's a Myotismon?" Because the kids throw around these terms like everyone should know what they're talking about. Where I think I said this last time, where like the word Digimon and the word monster are functionally the exact same thing. Why would you correct anybody?
What episode was better?
Second one, and only the second half of it. Because it established what needed to be done. This is another weird situation where, at least this one I understand. This one, I get there was a prophecy the whole time, although why Genai, it took Genai so long to tell them is really weird. Um, in fact, that might be enough to undermine the entire process. But at least I understand that there's a reason these episodes had to happen, or at least the prophecy had to happen, because, Vandermon always had a backup plan. But since Genai only decided to tell them about the prophecy the moment it became relevant, and when they had no time to prepare, it you probably could have cut out the episode of the prophecy, cut the first half of this episode, and nothing would change. Because once you defeat Vandermon, the sky goes weird, and then you're there. I don't.
Mm.
I guess what it did achieve was it killed the Devil Ball.
Yeah, he ate the devil ball. He inhaled the devil ball.
As far as I'm aware, that is literally the only thing these episodes achieved.
What? I like devil ball.
But he's dead now.
Yeah, sadly.
I mean, achieved in a narrative sense. I mean, if you took them out and none of the events happened, would anything change?
I would have liked devil ball to become good and then like follow them around.
Well, the problem
Kind
with
of like in a Meowth way, that like how Meowth became good or something in one of the newer seasons.
I wouldn't know, but like that.
I saw pictures of him walking around with Ash, like being in a team or something.
I guess it's like Vegeta. I think is a better example. Because Vegeta just did that. He never became good. He was just this evil guy who hung out with them.
Yeah, like maybe I would have liked Devimon to, follow them around, like be around the corner saying, "Oh no, they're in trouble," coming out and fighting with them, and then saying, I was just in the neighborhood," and yeah, and then just pretending to like go away, but actually still is following them. I would have liked that.
That could have been very fun.
Yeah.
Like,
is this sort of orphaned little Digimon?
He probably would have just found the next bad guy to join. And eventually evolved into a Devimon and had awkward moments with everybody. I just feel like if you took these episodes out, the only thing that would have 1.5 episodes out, the only thing that would be different, Devimon would be alive.
All right, so the characters that we met, the Digimon that we met this episode, Venomyotismon, War Greymon, Melgarurumon, and I guess we did see two new ones, which was Gorillamon and Airdramon.
I didn't even notice Gorillamon.
He's a gorilla with metal.
Oh, I didn't even notice him.
He's King Kong, basically. It's a King Kong reference.
Okay. Airdramon is Seadramon, but in the air.
Much better.
Look, they have wings. That's the distinction. War Garurumon, or is it Metal Garurumon?
It's Metal Garurumon.
Okay. So we got Metal Garurumon, who's the weirdest evolution ever. Okay, so here's your evolution track. Little guy. The fact that he's a lizard, we're going to skip past because we've talked about it plenty before. Little guy becomes big wolf. Alright, wolf stands up and is now a werewolf. Okay, I see where this is going. Werewolf becomes a regular wolf again, and then you strap armor to him.
Yeah, a lot of people don't agree with Metal Garurumon being the ultimate form.
Why did they unmetal him? So why did they unwerewolf him and just... It's such a weird step. It makes no sense whatsoever. And War Greymon, though his design is amazing, is in a very weird, similar situation where, like, I guess not similar, but like another very weird step where you've got little dinosaur, big dinosaur with metal on it, and then you have Iron Man.
Basically.
Like, why is he the next one?
He has butterfly wings.
He does.
They curl out. It's cute.
He's just Iron Man with a weird face. I'm like, okay, sure. If that's what you think they would look like.
What about Crotch Pyre? What do you think about Crotch Pyre?
Venom. Okay, Venomyotismon, when his crotch is closed, is awesome. The fact that his true body is in his dick is the weirdest thing ever.
And his high-pitched voice.
Oh, it so undermines the character. But I guess that's okay, because there isn't any character there. It would be the same thing as having like a 30-second vignette of like Wizardmon prancing around in a tutu, which is meaningless, and you go, what the hell? Why was that not serious thing in there? You go, well, they didn't have a character to begin with, so it doesn't matter how bad you ruin them. Yeah, otherwise his design's really cool. It's very, like, it's this massive vampire kaiju. Although the whole vampire thing really falls apart when when one tooth is the size of the person.
Mm.
How do you eat?
You swallow.
Also, when I was younger, I was like convinced that vampires ate by like biting you and then they use their teeth as straws.
That's what I thought.
Like
Isn't that what happens?
no, they just puncture you and then they just suck on the holes.
That sounds stupid and pointless. I think I'd be much better if they were straws. Like, what about if they just made them little needles and like were to make a blood test or something? Like, I
No,
don't know.
they just use them to puncture. That's it.
So I guess it's argument time.
Yeah, okay.
Digimon Rumble Arena!
So why I think that just Vamdemon at this point went after Hikari in particular is because he knew the prophecy. And the part about the miracle happening is light. So he saw the crest and went, I know this is the crest of light. So he said, the person who has this, I must stop from ever getting to her partner. I think he might have known that Tailmon was the 8th Digimon.
No, he was legitimately surprised when it happened.
Oh, in the dub he was.
No, he was
In
legitimately surprised in both.
Yeah, but I think he might have had an inkling. Anyway, so
He wouldn't have acted the way he did if he was like
so
that. I thought that would be really interesting.
he only needed to go after the 8th child because that's the part that was scaring him. He didn't know about the hope part.
Why not? It's in there. It's in the
I know,
prophecy.
but I
And
don't think he knows he doesn't know the children's crests.
He has all the information. The Devil Ball's been watching them the whole
Oh
time.
yeah, he said the crests, but I don't. But he knows that that's an important part, and this is the part that's easily removed. He tried
It's
earlier.
the least easily removed.
He tried earlier to get them to not react to their crests, but that was wrong. So what he did was he just went, "Oh, okay, I'll go to the real world. I'll get the 8th child, and I'll stop her from having her crest. I'll kill her, and then the miracle won't happen."
Okay, there are lots of problems with this. Your very first step here, which I'm going to use the last thing you said, is that he knows where the crest is. He can just put it somewhere, they'll never get it. Here's the thing, if that kid is in if he knows where the crest is, and he knows that the kid's in the real world and not in the digital world, if he just holds on to it forever, he cannot be defeated.
Well, it's not really said that they can't use the crest when they're not with the crest.
I think that's fairly evident and intuitive.
Well, her crest reacted even if she wasn't there. Like
It would react to her presence. It wouldn't, or
No,
to the presence of the Digivice.
No, because Wizardmon is holding the crest and is Onikakumon with Takeru and Jyou, and they're far away. And then Hikari is giving herself up, like far away, probably a few kilometers away, and her crest is reacting to that, even though it's far away from her.
Would it react
So-
if it's in the digital world?
What?
Would it react if it was in the digital world?
We don't know that, but I'm just saying that we haven't really have any evidence that the kids actually need the crest. Maybe it's explained later, maybe it's not.
Okay, well then let's work backwards further. Now, what is easy? You have to look at this as an issue of known and unknown quantities. You have your unknown quantity. You know there's an 8th kid out there.
Yep.
You know that if you kill them, you're probably going to be doing pretty good. So that's why I can understand where the plan sort of came from. But if you chase that 8th child, you have to find them, and then you have to kill them. But step one, finding them, really hard because Digimon don't know anything about the real world. They don't. There's tons of people. The fact that that portal opens up into Japan specifically is by itself astronomically ridiculous. Because why would Vamdemon know what Japan is when Digimon don't know what parents are? So he goes in to find this thing this needle in a haystack, this almost impossible thing, and he's got his slightly helping like fake tags, but it's ridiculous. And then he has to kill them, and he's going to come up against resistance, and he can't be sure that the kids aren't going to come through the gate behind him. That maybe that's why he didn't kill them before. But then he becomes aware that they have come through, and he knows they're going to resist, and he does nothing to minimize that resistance. In fact, he does stuff to anger them and to make them fight him harder. So then you look at the known quantity. He knows, he knows where the kids are pretty much at all times. He knows when they're at their very weakest and when they're alone. And he can teleport. And he knows that when all of the kids fight him with all of their Digimon evolved at the same time, they only barely beat him.
Yeah.
So, at any stage, and look, he knows the kids' crests, and at some stage, TK was alone. He was alone for weeks. And he knew exactly where he was. He has to step out, and he didn't even have his Digimon with him for those weeks.
Yes.
The fact that Devil Ball didn't just instantly murder him is mind-blowing. He
Yes.
didn't even need Vandemon to do it. He just throws a syringe at him, game over.
So the digital world part I'm not really talking about. I'm talking about the motives about why he didn't kill everyone in the real world to get his goal. Why he didn't exert himself to kill the children in the real world.
Okay,
We're not
well,
talking about the digital world. We're talking
let's
about
set
his
aside-
motive for only killing Hikari and why he was targeting Hikari out of everyone, where he could have just killed the other ones. Why he just left. He
Even
didn't want to
if-
use up any of his power. He just wanted to kill Hikari. Like when the fight between Takeru Yamato against Myotismon, he fled because he didn't want to use up any of his power. He just wanted to continue eating the people, feeding on women on the street, and then he just went away because he didn't want to use any power because he just wanted to fight. He just wanted to kill Hikari, and that was his goal.
But even if he didn't know who the Hope Crest was, and you know there have to be 2 angels, even if you didn't know, if you kill them one by one in the digital world, then your problem is solved, and you never have to go to the real world. And then once you're there, and okay, so let's pretend, for whatever reason, that going to the real world was the way to go, which it isn't. It's demonstrably completely wrong. Because you could have solved all your problems disgustingly easy before. But you've gone through and you've gone, well, there's no way they could follow me, so there's not a chance. You've come through and you're standing there in front of Matt and TK. They have one Digimon. You know he has the Hope Crest. And you're saying you're going after Kari because they're in the prophecy.
Yeah.
Because killing her will stop the prophecy. Well, TK's right there, and he has one Digimon with him.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much energy you need to get rid of, because once you've killed him, you've won.
Yes, but he explicitly says he wants to get to the 8th child before she finds out she's the 8th child.
But why
and
is
he
the
wants
8th
to
child relevant if you killed the other one in the prophecy?
Because he thinks it'd be too hard because he's with the others.
But he's
not
right there by himself. Well, he's with Matt, but his Digimon isn't there. Just Garbamon is there.
Yes, Gabumon's still there. They're still with the Digimon. Hikari is on her own. That's why they want to find her before.
But Vandemon is there.
Before she finds a partner, they want to kill her before she gets to a partner, before she's really in any danger. They want to find her, like when she's on the street. That's why they're all looking through the groups of kids. They want to find her when she's not with any Digidestined and she's not with any Digimon.
But that doesn't matter. Vampiremon
Yes,
is
it
sitting
does.
right there in front of them. He has backup. They have one Digimon, and he has provably beaten all of their Digimon until Angemon shows up.
Yeah, but before that, they...
It doesn't. No, he knows. He knows he can beat one Digimon, and he knows he will no longer be defeated if he kills this kid. But instead, he sends the thing out there, and if you're saying he should save his energy, then why did he expend the energy killing his own minions?
He just wants to kill the one who hasn't got a Digimon. How is that bad?
Because it doesn't matter, because he'll win a fight with Garurumon. He's fought 5 of them at once and been fine.
Yeah, and he doesn't fight them all until he actually knows who the 8th child is, and the 8th
He fights
child
them in the
is
digital
safe.
world.
What?
He fights them in the digital world, and he wins.
Oh yeah,
Until Angemon shows up.
Garudamon. Yeah. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Angemon doesn't show up until they're in the real world again for the second time.
Vandemon fights them all in the digital world.
He doesn't fight Angemon in the digital world.
Okay, he fights all but him.
Yeah.
And he does really well, actually.
Until Garudamon shows up, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to use his energy fighting a perfect level if he doesn't need to.
Yeah, but I think this is the stage where you need to. Because you'd win. It's right there.
Yeah, so what do you guys think as listeners? You can send us messages about what if you think that Vamdamon's motives are reasonable. I personally think they're reasonable, and Jay doesn't, but that's okay. He's allowed to be wrong.
So are you.
Okay, so next week we'll be watching The Four Divine Generals of the Devil's Mountain, The Dark Masters.
The four divine... Was I right? Is it a villain group?
I don't know. We'll have to watch, won't we?
Okay, also, they're called Enter the Dark Masters in English.
And the second episode is called The Hardened King of the Seas, Metal Seadramon.
Or Seasick and Tired. Oh,
See-
English.
See you next time, guys.
See ya.
Also, the show notes will be linked in the description.